Call the meeting to order.
Okay.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi. Welcome, everybody. This is a Select Board meeting, Monday, February the 26th. And the meeting has been called to order, and I've mentioned that under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20F, the meeting is being recorded. Are there any acknowledgements? I don't have any tonight. I don't know if anybody else does. No? Okay. Then we'll begin the meeting. The first section on the agenda is appointments. Our appointments and resignations. I'll just go right from the start and work our way down. 1A is a request from Chief Dunn to accept the retirement request of Lieutenant Johnny P. Kudo, effective April 1st, 2024, and to appoint as a reserve officer Lieutenant Kudo, effective April 1st, 2024. What is the pleasure of the committee?
Move it with regrets and send him a letter.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We know Johnny quite well, and he's served the town in an excellent fashion for so long, and I look forward to him being a reserve officer as requested.
The range won't be the same without him. He was the range officer.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Paula? Okay, thank you. 1B is a request.
Just on that, Mr. Chair, on that one, a motion to appoint him as reserve officer as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
We did L1.
I thought it was engrossed, yeah. Good catch. Okay, 1B is a request from Henry Lanier to be appointed to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the term ending June 30th, 2024. So that's, somebody had left and that creates the vacancy?
No, he's, that must be a renewal, because he's on it now.
Oh, okay. Oh, for his term is ending. Okay. All right, well, we need people for that position. Is that the committee you're on?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's great. I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion, questions?
Well, I'm confused. If he's already on it, then was he not officially appointed or something? Are we
must have
catching
missed-
up?
Did we miss him on the appointments on committee?
I mean, I'm totally fine with him.
It's only a couple of
I'm
months.
just
Actually,
confused.
we thought he was our co-chair, so we really.
Okay, all right.
All right. Dangerous here.
My pen just completely exploded.
Yeah.
Okay, any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, the motion carries also unanimously, Paul. 1C is a request from Kristen Stinson, Town Clerk, to appoint the following poll workers effective March 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. I'll read the names. On the Democratic, Ann McGuire, Stephen Anderson, Phyllis Mikhailovic, Diane Maynard, Barbara Marcotte, Claudia Bisson, Carolyn Baker, Merlene Tupin, Yvette Leverett, Eileen Moncrief, Dennis Veloso, Steve McGinnis, Gay Gillespie, Denise Ward, Almarinda Takara, also known as Nina, Ann Holterman, Maureen Murphy, and Wilfred Tim St. Michel. Under the Republican slate, it's Amy Lawton, Marilyn Simons, Doris Pecor, Paul Trial, Paul Mann, Karen Wehrmeister, Marjorie Pavo, and Evelyn Mercier. Under the unenrolled, Jean McGuire, Diane Forty, Beverly Shuck, David LaLima, Denise Toohey, Reginald Deshane, Patricia Souza, Carolyn Cooper, Joan Hopkins, Janet Sharp Kershaw, Carol Borden, Don Campbell, Edward Reese, John Gifford, Maurice Morris, Peter Campbell, Richard Collette, and Beth Kilinowick.
Just one correction, that was Maureen Morris.
Maureen?
Yeah, no big deal. Can we
Okay.
move them as a whole? I'll move them all.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. And we thank those people who came forth to become poll workers. We need them, and I think you probably see on the town website under the town clerk that there's a need for poll workers. It continues to be so. Sir, you have a question? If you, well, we don't have the microphone set up.
That's all right, my voice is
Go
loud.
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm a resident and I live at 3 Duval Avenue up in Briggs Landon. And I'm a retired Westport teacher. I taught here for 33 years.
Great.
And over the course of my time here, I was told that I saved this town a lot of money because of the program I instituted. 5 towns came to look at my program and followed the plan to save money too. It was with a substantially separate program. I put a school to work component. But the bottom line is that has nothing to do with why I'm here. Why I'm here is I'm wondering how you get appointed to the town's beach committee. I like walking the beach, I love the beach. And I'm retired and I'm looking for something to do and that's right up my alley. So I was wondering how that works. Thank you, sir, ladies and gentlemen, for
Okay. And your name again?
I'm
Your name?
Joel Sullivan.
No, Mr. Beachy. Well, the item is not really on the agenda for us to deliberate on tonight, unfortunately. But Jim, maybe you could talk about the process?
The process, if you are interested, you submit a letter to the Board of Selectmen just expressing your interest. Those appointments get reappointed yearly come June, and when positions become vacant, they also look for new members. So we're usually looking for members for a lot of these committees, so if you are interested.
I'm sorry.
We're usually looking for members for a lot of these committees, so if you are interested, I suggest you submit a letter to the Board of Selectmen, just stating your interest, your name, and contact information, and if there's any vacancies that come up, we can.
Now, the vacancies, once appointed, are you appointed for life like the Supreme Court justices?
No. I believe those are yearly appointments. Some are staggered, I'm not sure about the beach committee, is it 3 years?
Pardon me?
Beach committee is a 3-year appointment.
Each committee member has a 3-year.
And they're staggered, I believe, right?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your interest. Okay, that concludes the appointments and resignations. Action items. 2A, request to approve the Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion ballot question for the April 9th, 2004 town election. Jim, maybe you can start.
So the board discussed this at the last meeting. This was a recommendation from the Infrastructure Oversight Committee. The board has to approve any ballot questions. Any questions that go on the ballot have to be approved by the Select Board. You also have to approve the actual wording, which is there on your sheet. And just a point of reference, the amount of the exclusion cannot be placed on the ballot question. People ask all the time, how come the amount is not on the ballot? By law, you cannot put the amount on the ballot. The question has been reviewed by town council, and it's in proper form if the board wants to add it to the April election.
I mean, shouldn't it include water?
This is construct a sewerage system.
Actually, it should be both water and sewer, yes. So it would be construct a water and sewer system.
And then I'd maybe prefer North Westport instead of Route 6 area.
The Route 6 has been we kind of went back and forth with town council, that's what they suggested. I could ask them about the area if you want.
I think we, because again, our anticipation on the amount of money that we're going after, as we get grant funding to offset some of this stuff, I think it should be something that we can continue into the neighborhoods that we have to go into with this. So I don't want to say just Route 6 area, or just say, I mean, we should be calling it the Westport Sewer District, North Westport Sewer District, possibly, but maybe we can just go over that with Maury or something, with town council.
Can
Like,
I,
Maury's the one that did this question, right?
Question came from town council. We did have, I'm not sure why the water wasn't in there, that was a good catch, but we did have it in the warrant articles. I'm not sure why it wasn't included in the question.
I mean, 'cause if we look back to the Kleinfelder integrated water plan, I mean, it does show the area that we're targeting for sewer and water. So I think this should be, as we were going before with phase one. I mean, obviously, yeah, we're bound for phase one, but it's for the sewer and water for Westport.
Johnny, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Is there a timing implication here? Because, so it sounded like legal was suggesting that we use Route 6 area, and I think area does make sure you get it not just on Route 6. So if there's other money, you could start doing your spurs or whatever you're calling them down there. But there's a timing to get this on the ballot. So I'm wondering if there's time to talk about this with council again, or if we need to approve it tonight.
We would have to have a special meeting prior to March 11th.
We have one the 10th, so.
Well,
We have on the 11th, I believe, right? Yeah, the 11th is Monday.
our next
34
meeting
days-
is the 10th.
35 days before the election, it has to be voted on by the select board.
Well, maybe you can clear up some confusion, Jim. I thought, normally, we would be saying tonight, as it says on the agenda here, or my list, that March 10th is when we finalize the ATM warrant. And you had mentioned that the chair of the Finance Committee was, and it also says to send it to the Finance Committee per town bylaw.
Right, but this isn't for the warrant. This is for the ballot.
Okay. So,
You said
I
how many
don't,
days? I came out with the 5th.
35 days, I think that's March 5th.
Before the 9th, that's what I came out with, is the 5th.
And one of the reasons I'm saying that too is, I mean, obviously the Route 6 area, everybody's, you know, as I'm hearing it from everybody from town, it's, you know, the economic benefit and everything, and what I'm looking at is the rest of the area on the residents that are gonna be sewered is the environmental benefit. So I wanna make sure that that's clear when we go to the ballot box, that that's what we're looking at here, so that we can bring the whole town together on this vote. So that's my reasoning on doing that.
Do you worry though that if you call it, sorry, if you call it the Northwestport, that it'll lose the connection to Route 6? Like, I don't know.
No, because I'm considering that it's really, that's the section of town, everything north of 177. That's where we're gonna do sewer and water. So it's, and all of those neighborhoods, those are all the neighborhoods that we identified. And as we move forward in chasing this grant money, and I mean, once, yeah, we're gonna get an economic benefit coming down Route 6, and then we're gonna get an environmental benefit and public health benefit going into the neighborhoods and bringing them all at the ballot. That's how we're gonna get them there. We don't want to have the same confusion like what happened when, you know, it was just contract one and everybody from the end of Route 6 is down here. So now we're gonna go to the ballot and we call it the sewer district. They're gonna say, well, we're not included in this, and why should we vote for it? And again, like the people on the river, the environmental benefit, that's what we're gonna show them with environmental benefit. So they gotta remember that. The DEP, when you know, they came knocking on our door and they're working down the Cape now, they didn't have their wording right. They're gonna come back.
Well, that's what I'm worried about, the wording, right? So that's why I don't care what we call it. I just want to make sure that we're like in good with whatever legal is telling us we should put on the ballot. So
Well, you didn't have it there.
like adding water and adding to construct a water and sewerage system, that seems like we could make that decision tonight. But I don't know if we can change that Route 6 area, if there's some reason we could change that
Well, I
tonight,
think we-
or if we need to run it by legal.
Run it by legal again. We got enough time.
Well, I think we don't have enough
We don't.
time.
Dick just told me before this. We did. We had a meeting before.
We don't.
don't.
We just checked it on
We
here.
just
We
checked.
don't. It's March 6th. It has to, 5th, March 5th, we have to have it
The
done by.
March 10th he was talking about was for the warrant article, not for the ballot question. So we would have to have a special meeting if we didn't approve it tonight.
Right, or if you proved it and we had to change it.
So what's their proposal to change?
Well, my proposal is it's kind of important because that's what we need it for. We don't
No, I'm
need it for the
asking, what is
warrant article. We need it
specifically,
for-
what word
we
do
need
you
it
want to
for
put
the
on there?
Northwestport.
So you're saying to construct a water and sewerage system in Northwestport?
Yeah.
So the only thing I will point out is the funding, this is a two-part process, right? You need the ballot question, and then you need to appropriate the money at town meeting, and there's a timeline so that you have to have the election and town meeting in a certain amount of time. So if we're appropriating the 35 million for the Route 6 area, is it reasonable to think that we'd be going into the whole?
Oh,
And
I'm thinking that it's reasonable that we're going into the whole neighborhood, but, so, we can be, we're leaving, this contract's leaving stubs out of the layout on all them dead-end streets. So there's quite a possibility that certain grants and things can come across as we're moving along here, and we can grab these neighborhoods in this whole process. I mean, part of the problem, why, especially the water and the clean drinking water, we got problems with clean drinking water all the way to the Westport factory. And the problem with the expansion, since it was put in by the DEP 30+ years ago, is it was never taken out of the layout. And it was too prohibitive of a cost for people to get it out of the layout, and that's why it was never expanded. So this is the type of thing that we need to
So I guess
move
my only
forward with.
concern is that the 35 million, is that for Route 6, or is that going to be for the entire north?
It's
And then we had talked.
It's a borrowing limit that we're looking at. We're not saying we're gonna use, we're not even saying we're gonna use all of that money. I mean, if we got a $30 million grant, which I think I just heard that, P-Town got a $30 million grant for sewer and water. I mean, if we happen to get a $30 million grant, how do we implement that, first off? And how's the money coming? If we get a loan capability, that's how we pay our contractors, so we can get the job done quickly. And it's supposed to be, this project is moving forward. I think it should be considered the Westport sewer, not just like, short-sighted, like we keep saying, Phase 1AC, and same thing with the paper that was run again. It was still, that stuff's going all the way back to the Kleinfeld report. They haven't even upgraded what we're telling people. It's just I'm just trying to stop confusion.
Dick, can I
Go ahead.
comment for a minute? Just playing devil's advocate here, though. We changed this to North Westport, and then we need more money down the road. Now we're doing it again for North Westport. But if we do Route 6, and then we need money further down the
I'm
road,
hoping-
then we expand to North Westport and we get more money.
Okay.
So, I'm not exactly sure. I think you want to do this because you think it's going to help in the ballot, right? Or is this something to do
No, it's
with
gonna
collecting money?
No, it's gonna help in the ballot.
I think it will not.
I don't think it will, because you're also going to get South and Westport against each other. If this is Route 6, it's Route 6. We're establishing the helping growth along Route 6, and then if we need to expand it more, then we expand to North Westport, and it doesn't look like, hey, you just came to us for 30 million and now you want another 10 million. It's like, well, we want another 10 million because now we're going to open up more.
The criticism that we have gotten in the past on debt exclusions, right? So every debt exclusion we already have, we get several people who I'm sure have already come out and said this, that not naming the amount on the ballot is a problem, right? Now, we've told the people a million times, we legally cannot name the amount of money on the ballot. But what I worry about is if we say North Westport, people are gonna think we're baiting and switching them, because we haven't been talking about North Westport, we've been talking about Route 6. And again, I'm totally support the project. This is not about not supporting the project.
Oh, me too.
But I worry, like, I hear what you're saying is, like, you don't want to limit it, that's only benefiting certain people. You want to kind of show that's going to benefit other people. But I worry about people thinking the cost is going to balloon out of control if we don't have it, like, boxed, like what Ann just said.
Again, that's what we're trying to do with our public input here, an explanation what they're doing. So if we become a sewer district, okay, so we fall under the DEP guidelines. So there's a lot of benefits to all of those, the sewer district neighborhood, what's been happening with the Board of Health, okay? That stops once we become a sewer district. We follow DEP regulations. We have a plan to go into those neighborhoods. They will be not forced to put these systems in. And if they do have a problem with their system, they can do a minor upgrade to get to the point.
I think you're confusing. We
not
support the
confusing
project.
anything.
We support the
I do.
project, right? So we support the project. You don't have to convince us it's a good idea for the project, and you don't have to convince us it's going to grow and become more valuable to more and more people, right? We're on board with that. But I'm telling you that I'm concerned if we start calling it North Westport, I mean, if the board, I'll vote for it if the board wants to go this way, but if we call it North Westport, I think people are gonna think it's bigger than what we've been saying. And it probably is gonna be bigger than what we're saying, but the next time it's bigger, you'll have, like you said, you'll have like rationale for it. We're gonna expand it.
I just feel like if we call it North Westport and then we keep asking for more money for North Westport, it doesn't show that we've expanded the map. And then I just think it may make it a little easier right now, but I think down the road, if you need more money, it's gonna make it more difficult, is kind of my opinion. But as Shauna said, I'm happy to, however we think this needs to go.
So,
And I'm not even here anymore.
when the DEP comes knocking out, the reason they left is because their denitrification plan, when it came forward, was, in my opinion.
I'm talking about the high school
this is-
project. This is the argument we got for the high school project. This is the argument we get with every debt exclusion.
Okay, all right, but I'm just telling you how we gotta explain why we're doing this, because we have an integrated water plan. The DEP wants us to have a water permit, so that's the next step when they come in. We do this, we've already done what we needed to do, and these people in these neighborhoods are being protected from what's happening to them right now. But, I mean,
Steve, did your committee talk about the wording of Route 6 or Northwest Road, or do you have an opinion on
I
that?
don't believe we did, no.
no, that part we didn't talk about, I'm sure Maury came up with that,
Yeah.
but
Well,
we did
legal-
talk about some other stuff in there that.
So we had an estimate of roughly $32 million for the Route 6 to put the water and sewer in. And that's where that came from with a contingency, we brought it up to 35. If we word it differently for the whole, or for the north end, or different from this, then is the intent, if we get grants and additional funding, to use some of that 35 million on other parts of the north end? Or is
I
it
mean-
35 million just strictly for Route 6? And if we get grants and...
My intent, and you know, some of the constituents that have been touching base with me, is that we would hope that we didn't have to use it all. That we can move forward. We've seen what some other communities are getting. So, I mean, when I was told today about the 30 million that Provincetown got, I Googled it quick, and I guess 2 years ago, they went forward with a $75 million debt exclusion to town meeting. I don't know how that panned out for them, but the way I look at it now, like they keep saying, oh, we're rushing in this. Well, I mean, our contractor, our engineer told us 2 years ago we were gonna be, so we would have been in the same position as Provincetown was 2 years ago at this point. So what he promised us 2 years ago, we didn't get. I'm just saying, we need to educate the public on what's happening here. And if you guys don't agree with me, that's fine, I'm giving you my point and what I'm hearing on the street, that's all.
Thank you, Rob Machado. Yeah, no, I, not to disagree with anybody or side with anybody, but I like the idea of North Westport, and the reason why I like it is because there's a lot of people in North Westport that need a septic system repair. And so I know the debt part of it, and I know what you're saying about money and all, but to tell you the truth, even if we got the 35 million, we're gonna be going for a lot more than that. Environmentally, we would like to have the entire Westport tied into it, but we'll start with the north. And when you say the word north, that incorporates the people that live in the north end that do have the problems. Another thought comes to my mind. If you had most of the people in the north end tied in, and you had the storm drain pipes on Route 6 tied in, you probably wouldn't have a nitrogen problem in the river, and the people down the south end wouldn't have to do any repairs. Some of those folks live in a house, 1 or 2 people in there. Those systems have worked for 60 to 100 years. And of course, if they have any problems, they can pump them out. And so, you know, I like the idea of the north end, and I like the idea of a lot more money than 35 million. Thanks.
Thank you.
I mean, the thing is, what Seward does, and the people in the south need to realize this on the river, is a Seward house contributes 0 nitrogen. So the total load, that's a number that they count from each individual septic system, becomes 0. So the benefit to the south is immense.
Well, it benefits the whole town. We're clear on that environmentally.
So are you making a motion?
You, man.
You,
Mike?
Manny.
Well, yeah.
You feel passionately about this.
Can I just say
Why don't you word it?
One more thing. This question just refers to the borrowing of the 35 million. It doesn't, I don't think it really addresses, or the intent is to address projects beyond Route 6, but if you want to, we can do that. But the intent, this question is just for the $35 million borrowing. If we need more money in the future to do other projects, we're going to have another ballot question and another town meeting vote, so.
Well-
I mean, if you want to say, you know, we agree that we can change it to water,
Definitely.
add the water, and then if we want to say,
Can you say the
Westport
greater
Phase
Route
One
6
sewer?
area? Can you say the greater Route 6 area? So
Yeah.
you take on more than just
Yeah.
Route 6, but without saying North Westport, when we have no intention of
Right,
actually doing
okay.
all of North Westport?
well, we do, it's in the integrated water.
Well, down the road.
Well, in my view, and the project is a Route 6 project, okay? And the rest is semantics. And we know what,
Phase 1, it's Phase 1 of Westport Sewer is what it is. So maybe we could call it that.
Oh.
well, 35 million is not just
Back
phase
that.
one.
No, it is Phase 1.
It's
Three
all on Route
contracts.
6, yeah.
That's
Oh, I
that's
see what
the
you're saying.
confusion that we keep getting. That's what I've been trying to eliminate for 2 years, but
Well, I don't think changing it to North Westport changes that problem.
All right, so what do you do, change it to water and greater?
we have to, no, we have to add water to the sewer, because it is water and sewer.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
we
that's
all
what our
agree.
design is,
Yeah,
and that's
well,
what we're looking at.
Just to be, I just want to be clear,
I mean,
so
we can-
because this is a ballot question, somebody has to make a motion that says, I move to place on the ballot a question that reads,
Okay,
and then has to
I-
have the exact wording of what you want. So
All right,
that's what we
so-
need is the
so-
exact
So
wording.
Jim, put that down, tell me how we can do it, where it's gonna get through town council, add water, and we'll leave Route 6 area, okay?
Okay.
We'll deal with some of the other stuff and some of the other
No,
questions.
the water
Those
definitely
areas.
has
Well,
to.
did you want to put the greater Route 6 area?
Yeah, that would be good, because that would include the villages.
All right, so water and greater.
So it would be, shall the town of Westport be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2 1/2, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bond issued in order to engineer, design, and construct water and sewer systems in the greater Route 6 area?
Yeah,
Mhm. That works.
I'll move that.
I'll say,
The motion made and seconded. This gentleman might like to make a comment.
The septic systems in water, during the great floods of Rhode Island, my septic system failed. Westport was included in that as an area. And FEMA came in and granted me $29,000 to replace my septic system. The other thing that I'd like to point out, so I think it's valuable to do what you're doing, because this water runs downhill, so to speak, and we have the aquifer, and a lot of pollution goes into that. And there's been fish kills and everything else in this town. And what was the other thing I was gonna say? Is that billing. Many towns have water bills. So you could get your money back by putting water bills directly on to residents. I don't know if you're interested in that, but that is something you could toss back and forth. But for certain, there are water bills out there in the state of Massachusetts.
we have water customers now.
Oh, okay.
136.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the select board? We had a motion made and seconded.
I just wanted to speak for the Watershed Alliance and say that we're very much in support of this project, and we see this as the beginning of the long history of what needs to be done to improve water quality for residents, for the river, and for the whole town. So, bravo.
Again, any further discussion from the select board?
Nope.
So we've got the wording, we've got the agreed motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on. That concludes the work for the ballot question and related items. We have nothing to discuss regarding town meeting that was covered last time, as we recall.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'll just soldier around, as they say. Item B is to assign the select board members to negotiate the town administrator's contract. The background on this, once again, is Jim has a contract that expires in September. Well, it might seem early, where I come from, time seems to fly, so I thought I'd bring it up. And the best way, I think, to go about it, but this is up for discussion, is to have a subcommittee of 2 of you to discuss with Jim the goals, and go over that, and so on and so forth, and make a recommendation to the full board at a later date. So this item is to assign select board members, and I'm suggesting 2. I know there might be some people who are interested in this. Manny, you expressed interest?
I'll volunteer to do that too.
Okay. Everybody else comfortable with that? Okay, then we, do we need to take a vote on that, or is that by consensus? It's just us, so I don't think we,
It's just
This is
consensus.
fine.
by consensus, then we will appoint Ashana and Manny as representatives. Okay, thank you. There's no time frame on this, it's up to you to develop a time frame, but you do have some time on this, obviously. Thank you. Okay, C is the request to use $478,000 of the Bristol County Recovery Plan Act funds for design and bidding for water and sewer systems for the neighborhood on the south side of Route 6 between Gifford Road and Sylvana Street. Jim, could you give us the background on that?
This was from Board Member Soers. I don't know if you want to
Yep.
give an update.
So this is what we're calling it, I guess we can call it the Macumber neighborhood instead of the Macumber Loop.
Okay.
And it's gonna take up 300 houses that have these subgrade systems, including the Macumber School that has a non-compliant Title V septic system and has a water problem. So it's going to be designed for that whole neighborhood. And one of the other things it will do is in our negotiations with Fall River, I believe that neighborhood will bring us above the next threshold for water usage that will lower our water rates. So, I mean, it's a plus for a project, and I guess we're still looking. We got a grant application in for this, Jimmy, on the Macumber, or?
The original Macumber Loop, right, Osborne Street and Gifford Road, and extending Route 6. We have a grant application in, supposed to hear by the end of February, which is a couple of days, so. We got some preliminary information today, but they haven't announced anything. We certainly don't have the check yet, but so far it's been very encouraging.
And like what kind of money?
$3.6 to $4 million.
Will that go just to the school itself, or is that going down to Savannah?
So that would be along Route 6 from its terminus, which is right near the Housing Authority property, going easterly to Washington Street. And then it would go from Route 6 near CVS down Gifford Road to the Macumber School, and then head down Osborne Street back to Route 6 to tie in.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people in that area sure could use that water. But a question for you.
You gotta go to a mic if you're
Yeah.
gonna talk.
Let's say you got it down to the school, like we were saying, you know, like Carl Jacob, just a couple of streets down. My niece lives there. And they're beautiful houses in there, but there is a water problem there, you know. So if you had got that spigot down to the school, say, down to Savannah, like we were talking, is that where you're talking in District Savannah? Or would you stop at the school, down Osborne, like you said?
There's 2 different projects, right? We have one that's currently being designed, that's Osborne, Gifford Road, and Route 6. That's the one we've applied for a grant for. What's being requested tonight is kind of the infill of that area, the streets within Osborne and Gifford Road, and extending it down further south along Gifford Road. I don't know.
But initially that loop that you put in was just water, right? When
Just
you applied
water.
for the grant. So basically what we did was, the difference in this price, because now it's sewer and water designed for the whole thing. So one of the other things that came in question is that when I was talking to the engineers, I mean, some of that stuff's coming in gravity off of Route 6, the sewer wise, and as you get down to like Sylvan and even like Kyle Jacob, they have a, you know, it's within probably the last 10, 15 years what they call a low pressure system, which could pick up those, a 4-inch pipe web throughout that whole lower neighborhood could pick up every one of those houses.
Right.
So when you get into Kyle Jacob, so the 300 houses in the Macumber neighborhood that are on small, pre-existing non-conforming lots that don't meet Title V are not like Kyle Jacob. Kyle Jacob's a new subdivision, maybe 10, 15 years old, adequate sized lots, but as we know, septics don't last forever. And they have water problems right now, water quality problems.
Right,
So
exactly.
those with this type of system in that neighborhood, even the new, as they start failing down there, they can be added on and come on.
Right, yeah, because that's a big question.
And
a lot of
and
them
again,
have in there.
this whole neighborhood abuts the Bread and Cheese Brook. So,
Yeah,
it's,
good, thanks.
Further questions? You might,
Yeah.
you go ahead.
So, so I know we need to get the Bristol County ARPA money like quickly. So my first question was, this is 478 is separate from the 311 that we already approved on the little chart here.
Yeah.
You have
Yes,
the
yes.
Macomber Loop. So this is in addition to that 311.
Yep.
Right, okay. And then I know we're getting a deadline of trying to, if this is a project that's ready to be filed, that's a pretty good plus because we're getting close to the deadline. But are there other projects that are waiting?
So there's a lot of projects you could spend it on, right? You can do Chapter 9, like similar to Chapter 90 programs, you can do any street improvements, you can do emergency vehicles, you can do any health-related stuff that we can tie into the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, but any ready enough to be submitted to Bristol County in the next month or however long we have?
The street construction, you could probably get out pretty quick. Is it ready to go right now? No. But that could be ready, I think, for June, July.
Well, where do we end up with this? It looks like we probably won't be able to spend it all, based on what you're saying.
Oh, I think we can spend it, it's just a matter, we can definitely spend it. There's other projects that we could do, yeah, I don't think that's an issue.
Well, maybe I should be talking about, will it be approved? That's the
Yeah,
question.
you know, if you put in for say, a fire engine, yes, I think that would be approved.
Yeah.
I think you could put in for police vehicles, they would not do. Infrastructure stuff, they've expanded it a bit over the last couple of months. We'd have to go through the details as to what's permitted and what's not, but
Okay.
I think we can spend it, it's just a matter of making a decision fairly quickly to make sure that we spend it.
Okay. Further
There's
discussion?
broadband as well that you can spend it on.
Okay.
So, sorry, so right now we have 793, 337 that's not allocated.
That's correct.
And so that would leave us with, whatever, another 200 grand, 300 grand, if we approved this 478.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Any more discussion on this item? Did we have a motion on this?
No?
I didn't think so. Okay. Who wishes to make a motion?
I make a motion to request to use the 478 of the Bristol County Recovery Plan Act funds for the design and bidding for the water and sewer systems for the neighborhood of the south side of Route 6 between Gifford Road and Sylvan Street. I would like to amend that to be called the Macumber neighborhood.
Well, the motion has the words Macumber neighborhood, okay? Everybody understand that? Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. No discussion on that motion? Okay, it looks like it's time to vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Paul, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, good. Thank you, Jim. That's helps us with our problem, spending the money and getting it approved to be spent.
One other thing on that too
Mhm.
is, so the reason this did come up was I was in a building committee meeting with the school superintendent, and the Macumber has water problems, and they were gonna spend money on wells and pumps and stuff like that, so it's kind of how this got on the radar.
Okay. Well, that's good. Okay. Moving along, the next item is D, request from the Council on Aging to accept the following donations totaling $465. $10 from Paul Canuel for outreach, $10 from Simone Blanchette for outreach, $25 from Joanne Betancourt in memory of Elsa Corey, $50 from James Grazia in memory of Alice Resendiz, $100 from Linda Eastwood in memory of Alice Resendiz, $100 from Kathy Rego, in memory of Alice Resendes also, and $50 from Luann Nygaard in memory of Alice Resendes also. And then there's $10 from Richard Manchester for best use, $10 to Maria Botello for outreach, and $100 from Norma Reinhard for the yoga boosters. What is the pleasure of the committee?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. Paul, that also passes unanimously. Thank you. The Council on Aging will be pleased. E is the East Beach electrical permit fee clarification. It's, Jim, could you give us the background on this?
Yeah, so with the permit applications for the trailers each year, East Beach property owners are assessed a $100 fee for electrical permit, as well as a $60 application fee for the, or permit fee for their trailer. The fee went up, I think, was it $40 or $60 last year? It was the electrical permit fee was $40 last year, and it went up to $100 this year. But what's been happening is a number of the properties, because of the damage down there with the pipe tanks needing electrical work, or their service has been knocked over, they need to pull out an electrical permit for that anyway. So the question that's been asked is, if they pull the electrical permit for that, can they avoid pulling a second electrical permit for the plugging into the camper? And it seemed like a reasonable request. They've had a tough year down there. I know the Board of Health has waived some of their fees to help them along with their repairs to septic systems and so forth. It's tight tanks. Yeah, so.
So still, we will be getting money for electrical work, we just won't be getting an extra $100.
That's correct.
Okay. Discussion on the part of the board?
My question is,
Sir?
oops, I'm sorry, you looked at me.
Oh, he's not the chair. I'll give you a chance. Normally the protocol's let the select.
I got it. No, I'm not used to it, I really haven't.
Understood. Any questions, comments? Motion?
I'll move that we waive the fee as described.
Second, this is under the understanding we don't have any more high impact damage, obviously, right? It's not an open-ended permit.
Oh,
that's right.
No.
This is just.
It's specific to that.
Yeah.
Right,
Work.
so we need a re-inspection if we got hit again.
Yeah. Okay, motion made and seconded.
I mean, and this stuff is like, now they get the property line all lined up, this stuff's all gonna be located where it's supposed to be.
Well,
Well, the point is they just not paying for two electrical permits and like
Well, I
within
mean,
weeks
some of
of
it's
each
gonna be,
other.
because we just did a survey down there, and some of it's in the town layout, so I imagine it has to be on the property line.
well,
Yeah, any new telephone poles or service connections that they put in would have to be on their property. Yep, we can check on that.
okay, sir?
Yeah, those telephone poles, their responsibility to adjust or put up or straighten out, whatever?
Yeah, so most of them have their own telephone pole or half a telephone pole on their property, and they're responsible for that pole, and normally their electrical service box is on that pole as well, so
Yeah.
those are all privately owned.
Okay. So this is basically gonna give those poor property owners a break on licenses.
Yes, some of them, the ones that
Well-
have to take out two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some have to take out
Yeah.
too. All right, thank you. That's my question.
Thank you. Okay, further discussion? Further discussion?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was,
I'm
motion
sorry.
made. Second.
I'm in trouble.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion, I'll assume it's time to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item would be F on the next page. Request from the planning board for select board comments and recommendations on a site plan approval low-impact development application for property located on the southwest of Souls Way. Assessors map 57, lots 19 and 24. This is a solar project, Jim?
Yeah, so this was a solar project that was approved a few years ago. The solar permit was extended, but they also had to go for a site plan for a low-impact development, and that expired, so they're reapplying for a low-impact development site plan.
And what would be the implications for us to think about with low impact versus something that isn't designated low impact? Does it make a difference? Is this better? Is this
Well, any project that disturbs over a certain amount of land is required to go for low-impact development
Yes,
permit. And the board, planning board will review to make sure that the drainage meets certain requirements and,
Okay, thank you for that. So this is for comments. So what is the pleasure of the committee in terms of comments for the planning board?
I don't have any.
None? You have any thoughts we should
I
include?
don't know.
Okay, then by consensus, we will agree we don't need to comment on this as requested. Thank you. All right, discussion items. Review of the town meeting warrant articles. And here you have the comment about March 12th. Could you make that clear to us? There's the implication of that, the March 10th.
Yeah, so my town bylaw, the Board of Selectmen is supposed to have the final warrant, or the articles submitted to the Finance Committee on the 10th.
It's only March.
10th, or the 11th, and our meeting is on the 11th. So I did ask the Finance Committee Chair if we could extend it a day, and she was,
Excuse me, Jim, do you have another one?
Do you have any more? We only got 4 of these.
Do I have two? I have two.
Oh, okay.
Ah. Okay, please continue, thank you.
so we missed the deadline by a day from our next meeting in March, is it March 11th or March 12th? You're asking for the dates, huh?
That says February. so
It's
it
March
doesn't-
11th is
It's
our
March
next meeting.
11th is next meeting. So it's supposed to be in March 10th,
It's a Sunday, right?
which is a Sunday. She agreed to allow us to submit it after our March 11th meeting.
Okay,
Gives us another meeting to go over the town meeting warrant articles, which I think we're gonna need because they are changing. The wording is changing, some of the articles have changed.
okay.
And this is the first opportunity the board's had to really review them.
All right, now, the way we've done this in the past is to go through the articles and, like the town meeting, to assume they will pass, and if not, we put them on hold for further discussion. So we get the bulk of them that way. It's a more efficient process. I don't have any preference, but we'll do it that way unless anybody has an objection. How'd you do it when you were chair? Was that the way you did it?
Well, yeah, you have to get to every article to agree to put it on.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, some of them are usually pretty straightforward, and you could just knock them all out, and then we can talk more. I think in this first meeting, you wouldn't want to, like, talk in detail about any of the articles unless you do. But,
Okay.
so, yeah,
Well,
maybe put the hold on ones we want to talk more about.
yeah, because, Jim, are you suggesting we don't vote tonight?
I would suggest the board votes at the next meeting.
Next meeting, okay. So this will be purely discussion. In that case, we can just put the ones on hold that we want to talk about and talk about it some more later after we go through the list, and knowing that the final vote will be next week, or the next time, 2 weeks from now. Okay, got it. All right. Jim, why don't you be the, sort of the leader of the band here on these? and
Sure, so the first 13 that are highlighted in yellow are pretty much our standard warrant articles that we hear every year. We have the budget, we have the salaries for the, we'll go down in order here, right? So first one is typical, appropriate sum of money to pay prior year bills if we have any prior year bills. Right now, we do not have any listed. Article 2, to transfer the money into budgets from departments for this fiscal year. So if any of the departments are short, we will transfer from available funds from another account to the department that needs money. Right now, we have about 5, 6, I think 7 transfers for departments. Article 3 is the compensation for elected officers, which includes a 3% increase. Article 4 is the budget article that is still being assembled right now. The Board of Selectmen approved or recommended the budget at the last meeting. It's currently in the Finance Committee's hands right now. Article 5 is the CIPC Capital Improvement Planning Committee. Those have been discussed by the board at a previous meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Article 6 is the standard language that allows the treasurer to borrow from time to time. Article 7, these are the ones for the enterprise funds. Article 7 is to allow the Marine Services Enterprise Fund to operate. Article 8 is the water enterprise. I'm still waiting, I just note on this one, we're still working with Fall River on reconciling previous year bills. We have another meeting tomorrow with them. If we can do that in a relatively short amount of time, we may need to appropriate more funds out of this enterprise to pay back Fall River for some of the previous invoices. The Beach Committee is Article 9, Community Television is 10. Article 11 is the first article if we're changing any of our revolving accounts. The Fire Department has requested an increase of $20,000 for the ambulance fund, which brings it up from $170,000 up to $190,000. Article 12 is, again, just reauthorizes the previous revolving accounts. There's no changes to those that are listed there. Article 13 is the Community Preservation Fund and their recommended projects.
Excuse me, I was going to have a comment on this. I don't know if, per our earlier discussion, we should just put a hold on that and discuss it later, but it's just a sort of a quick one, so if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead. So the $190,000 for the fire department is Article 11, but then it's repeated again over here. Is there any issue with that, or is there a reason for that?
This changes it in the town bylaws. Kind of going back with town council. Town council one year said we don't have to do that. Once you do it in the first article, you're all set. Unless you're changing the article, unless you're changing the amounts, you don't have to include that. But then we had another note from them that said, yes, you have to do it, so.
Oh, and it's not going to be double that, right?
It is, no.
Okay. That was my only concern. Thank you.
One increases it to 190, and the second one updates the town bylaws to show it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, what were you, 13?
Article 13 was the CIPC.
Can I ask that we have them come talk about their projects on a future meeting?
Sure, we've done that in the past.
Yeah, sometime between now and the town meeting. I'm fine with the article, just,
So that doesn't necessarily have to be next meeting?
yeah, I don't think it wouldn't affect my desire to approve the warrant article. I just would like to have them talk about the projects.
Okay, can you arrange that, Jim? Paula?
Yep.
Thank you for that, that's a good idea.
Articles 14, 15, and 16 have to do with the Route 6 sewerage and water project. Article 14 is the appropriation of the $35 million to pay for the cost of engineering, designing, and constructing the water system and a system of sewers and associated treatment facilities. So that's the big article. Article 15 is an article for the betterment, which sets the betterment ratio at 20% for the property owners along Route 6 that would be serviced by the improvements. It also identifies a 5% interest rate for billing and also for the betterments. If they don't pay it all off in the first year and it's extended over 20 years, it would be a 5% interest.
Can I ask that we,
Yeah, go ahead, and I have a question too.
yeah, can I ask that we talk about this one
Yeah.
at a meeting too?
And then Article 16 establishes an enterprise fund for the sewer, effective 2025, and it authorizes the Board of Selectmen to act as sewer commissioners. This was discussed at the IOC committee. There was some debate going back and forth whether or not the selectmen should be the sewer commissioners or if it should be an appointed or elected sewer commission board. Just looking at the timeline, if the selectmen were appointed or authorized as the sewer commissioner, that would not take effect until next April because it has to be approved at a town meeting ballot, not a town meeting, a town election. So that would, when they officially become sewer commissioners, before then they have certain powers. The Board of Selectmen, the Select Board could act or will act essentially the same manner as a sewer commissioner until that date.
So Jim, does that mean like we have that ability already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would make more sense that we don't we just move forward with creating the Department of Public Infrastructure, since that is going to be made up in the next town meeting. We already have what we need to move forward right now.
I'm sorry, I'm confused about
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
we are currently the water and sewer commissioners, so we don't have to take action, right? But are you guys talking about having an elected?
So right now
Board?
they're the water commissioners.
Uh-huh.
Sewer commissioners, you are not. So
Okay.
If it went through as written here, the town would have authorized the Board of Selectmen to be the sewer commissioners. You don't officially become a sewer commissioner until next April after the ballot question, if it's approved. But for the most part, according to town council, you have essentially the same powers as the sewer commissioners would have until that is voted on.
But do you guys talk about that? Because I know when we were talking about the municipal light plant, we really firmly believe it should not be the select board.
Right.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm saying, it shouldn't be, so.
so
That's the only reason we're looking at the creative Department of Public Infrastructure. That would be a 5-member board. So like where we put the money for a town engineer, that's who would be underneath that. And then these infrastructure, not just sewer and water, it could be broadband's infrastructure. So all of that infrastructure could fall under that, which would lift the burden from the select board. I mean, obviously they report to the select board, but, you know, I mean.
well, they're elected, they would not report to the
Well,
select board.
well,
That's, they're,
The engineer will report to the select board on what
Right.
they're doing, so it's.
so Article 17 was crossed off on this list, but are we still talking about having an Article 17?
It's included in Article 16, so.
Oh, it's in,
Yeah, so they would establish an enterprise fund
and authorizing the select board.
Authorize the
But if we
select
didn't want it to be the select board, if we wanted it to be, so we could appoint a committee to do it. I'm just trying to figure out if it's not the select board, what's
So
the
if it's not
mechanism?
select board, it could be an appointed commission by the select board, or it could be an elected commission.
So could we have a period of time where it's like an appointed until things get up and running a little bit better and then be elected? Is that,
So this is where it gets complicated, right? I'm sorry, it's difficult to explain.
okay, well, maybe we should talk about it on another meeting because I know you didn't want to talk in detail about this, but.
But just quickly, right now, the selectmen will kind of act as the commissioners at least until next April.
Sure.
All right, and then next April, the town will vote to either have the selectmen be the sewer commissioners, have an appointed sewer commission, or an elected sewer commission. If they have an appointed sewer commission, I believe the selectmen can appoint that group shortly thereafter the election. If you're going to have an elected sewer commission, you would not have an election until the following April. Now, whether or not the board can appoint until that election is done, I don't know. I can check.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, I'm also in favor of appointing a 5-member board because now you can choose people
You
that
get
are
qualified,
qualified.
yeah.
right? And then, you know, but the idea is, you know, the other thing on elected is we could set up something where you get somebody from every precinct so that, you know, it could, you know, because we got other water districts, there's other things that can happen later in time,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I know when we were talking about, from an MLP perspective, we were talking about it's hard to get elected people. Like 5 elected people for a board like that, one from every precinct is
So then-
hard. As you can see by our unopposed elections for the April ballot, right?
But
So,
at that point, you appoint them anyway, so it's.
right, yes, yeah.
Appointing's easy to jump in and out and go. If they don't like it, they just give us a letter. They don't have to go to the town and feel foolish.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so I think maybe we need to understand a little bit more about those.
Okay.
I mean, another thing on that is like as we're moving forward with sewer, we have water already, so we're the water commissioners. Now, this stuff's coming up with sewer, we got a lot of infrastructure. This also includes like the municipal buildings, you know, I mean, you can have somebody that's overseeing that. Right now, we have 2 issues. We have no contracts in both. I mean, at cable TV, we don't have a contract, and that's, I imagine that's us, and now we don't have one in the sewer, in water yet. So we're still working on that, and that's 3-4 years old already. So I think we need, you know, just moving forward, it's gonna be, to run the town more efficiently, I mean, we gotta pass some of these duties onto something else.
Agreed. Okay, so that covers that discussion. We'll be talking about this again next time if we need to. So continue on.
So Articles 19, 20, and 21 were submitted by the town treasurer and collector. Article 19 will just allow them to assess in a single bill if somebody has a tax assessment of less than $100. They could send it out in 1 instead of 4 quarters, which would make things easier on them and also the payees. Article 20,
What about 18? Did you,
18 is coming off.
okay, that's on this
Yep.
other thing, yeah, okay, got it. I was gonna ask you what that was, but it's taken off. It's moved, isn't it?
It is in 19, so 20 This would just allow more flexibility in the investment options that the town treasurer would have. As a municipality, very limited as to what you can invest in. This doesn't expand it much, but it does expand it a little bit.
Mhm.
Article 21 was, this was originally put aside to acquire a conservation restriction. I believe it was, I'm not sure which one this was, Angeline Brook, I believe it was. I think it was kind of a placeholder until we got the grant.
Mhm.
I ended up getting a grant, so this was not needed, so they didn't take it off the books.
And if passed, the money goes back to the general fund?
So this one wouldn't, right? So this was just authorization to borrow, and we didn't borrow, so we
Okay.
just removed the authorization from the
All right.
Article 22 is 20,000. This is a similar article that we see every year for the Board of Assessors. They range, sometimes it goes up to 40,000 if they have to do a full assessment of the properties in town. The 20,000, I believe, is like the yearly maintenance.
Okay.
Article 23 is the, this is an old septic grant that the Board of Health received, that they did not have to pay back, that they've been allowing residences here in town to borrow from to install septic systems. They want to change the wording so that, right now it's set up so that you need to have you're only loaning if you have a denitrification system. This would give them more flexibility to allow people to borrow if they were not putting in a denitrification system.
Mhm.
And then Article 24 would just correct the wording from that original vote there on the nitrogen reducing systems from 2021.
Can you give us an example where this would be used, where it's not involving denite? It's like a normal septic repair?
Yeah, it could be a septic, new construction, I think they're all doing denitrification, but these are all septic repairs, I think these loans are for.
Mhm.
So sometimes they want the denitrification systems if the wells are very close to the septic system, or if they find some nitrates in the abutting wells. If it's a larger lot and there are no nitrates, they may not be, they may waive that requirement.
Mhm. Okay.
So, I mean, this is saying that if they have they have a compliant Title V lot, and it's an upgrade, and their well's okay, they can't borrow the money because they don't want, they want them to do a denitrification system. When their regulation says they have to do a denitrification system for an upgrade, not for an upgrade, just for a repair, if you're not gonna add a bedroom or anything.
So I
So
think
they're saying they
if
can't
it's an
borrow.
upgrade and it's
Yeah.
considered new construction, the Board of Health is requiring them to do denite systems. There are repairs, I think, that they can do that are not required to be denite systems.
Well, the regulation says that they don't have to do a denitrification system on a repair, except when they find that they have an elevated level of nitrates in the well, then they require them to do that. So now they're saying if they have a good well, and, and they're on a 5-acre lot, now they're saying that this person can't borrow to do a regular, they don't even have that regulation.
So this is kind of aside from those regulations, I think. The way it's worded right now, they can only loan the money for denitrification systems. So this would change that to allow them to loan the money to regular
Okay,
systems.
so I was confused. I
Yeah.
thought they were just
Yes.
restricting it to that.
It's deleting
I'll
the,
delete it.
the
Okay,
the
perfect.
offensive wording.
My confusion.
Article 25, to appropriate $15,000 from the reserve fund, receipts reserved from the transfer station to buy a container, roll-off container, and some light-duty equipment for the transfer station.
Question on this. Normally, these are capital improvement items, and I don't recall discussing this one. It's not on the list.
I think it was the dollar amount.
Mhm.
Normally, things under 25,000
Okay.
don't always go before the capital improvement planning committee.
Yeah, I guess we've done this in the past as well, if I recall. I'm in favor of it, just wasn't sure why it escaped the wrath of the CIPC committee.
Article 26. So last year, the town there was $93,000 left in the loan from the old middle school when they did the PCB removal or mediation, and there was also $9,175 left from the police station mold remediation. Last year, town meeting voted to put those into the capital stabilization account. The state said that it has to go into a fund where it will only be spent on building repairs, where capitalization stabilization account allows you to buy equipment, buy vehicles. So we need to take it out of capital stabilization and then put it into an additional fund, and that's what the next few articles are.
Well, so it's 93,000. What's the total amount in the fund now, the capital stabilization fund? Does this deplete the funds in effect? Well, we're going to replenish it, I guess. I remember 100,000 or
It's
something.
currently $318,118.59.
All right, so it's still 200,000.
So are you saying that this money never got put there because it violated the whatever the law?
It went in there, but DOR said that, or DLS said
Okay,
that
so we
need
put
to-
it in there, but then the governing authority said, no, you're not allowed to do
That's
that.
right.
So that we're making this change because the government authority has told us that that was invalid. Okay.
So that's 26, 27, 28.
So then 27, 28 are spending that money on building improvements is,
Right now, we're just putting them into an article that would allow us to spending on building improvements. So once it's in that article, at any time, they could spend it for pretty much any building project.
okay.
So, if I may follow up, this 93,000 in question doesn't go into the capital stabilization fund, it's coming out of that. It's not going into another fund, it's to be
It's
used?
going to sit there in a warrant article, and if you have a building project, you would
Yeah.
be able to draw on that.
Okay, okay.
Article 29 is $41,600 that was left over from an article from the Westport Elementary School gym floor that was not expended. They're looking to repurpose that money for the elementary school parking lot. Hicks Bridge Landing, Article number 13, right now, there was an easement we were looking at taking, but that's not ready to go yet. Article 31 is from the Beach Committee. They've requested a sum of $15,000 for the purpose of purchasing land at Cherry and Webb Beach. There's a parcel along the water, small parcel that the owner has offered to the Beach Committee. The $15,000 would be for purchasing, as well as, I'm going to have to add the wording, any legal fees associated with the transfer.
Okay.
And the $49,000 in Article 32 is for the fence in a vehicle. The fence, I think, has been requested by the neighbors, and was supposed to be installed last year or the year before. They're currently working on getting bids right now, so that will be ready to go as soon as this is.
And this was the subject of an earlier town meeting article, right?
It was.
And that money, it was lesser than this, was 24,000 or 20, something like that. Has that money been expended for other purposes?
19,000 of it has been expended, 19 or 20,000.
Hmm. Well, the price has gone up.
Well, this includes the fence, and it includes the vehicle for the beach as well.
Yeah, right.
Article 33 is from
Train
the
coming
Marine
through here.
Services.
It's on the side of the list.
He actually had a couple of articles looking for an engine for two of his boats. So for the total would be $30,000. And that would come from the Waterways Fund.
And again, this one didn't meet the capital improvements criteria because it was smaller.
Yes, I combined the two articles into
Yeah.
one just to reduce the number. Article 34, this was before the board at the last meeting, and it was continued, but these are two parcels of land that abut the St. Vincent's property on Islandville Road to the north. They're currently owned by the town of Westport. They would like to transfer them to the care and custody of the Conservation Commission, which would kind of put further restrictions on the parcels, but It would give the trustees, the land trust, more incentive to make improvements on it as far as walking paths and other recreational, passive recreational uses on it. It does put it under Article 97 land, which means if you wanted to take it out and take it out of that recreational conservation use, you would have to get a legislative approval to do that. But the two parcels that are on the north side of the St. Vincent's property, they really don't have any other value to the town.
Is this the property that abuts Sodom Road? It goes just kind of a long way from west to east.
Not that part, no.
This is
That's
different.
another one.
Yeah, okay.
How
These two are kind of landlocked.
many acres we talking?
I could tell you in a minute. I got it from last week's meeting. It's in last week's meeting pile. Well, some of it's wet. There's a stream that goes through it. I think a good chunk of it's wet.
Is that
It was
anything with the
by the
map?
dump, it was by the transfer station,
This
and
one's,
then across 88 from the
this one's
transfer
St.
station.
Vincent's, the next
Oh,
one's.
sorry,
That's a different.
sorry.
Well,
No, I think it's a good thing. I'm just curious on how big it is. That's all.
I could tell you in a minute. Let me get through this and I'll take a look.
I mean, it still belongs to the town. It's not going to land trust. It's just going under the
Yeah, you
kind of
essentially,
protection of Concom.
you're putting a restriction on yourself, right? Which, in this case, may be a good thing.
I'm just curious, there's one property there known as the Sylvia property. That's the one that would come out on Sodom Road. That's the one that Ross Moran had been talking about. So this is a different piece, I guess, than that.
Yeah, I think the one that goes out to Sodom Road isn't owned by the town. I think that's,
No, that's on, it's the Sylvia is the
Yes.
name, but they're going to bequeath that to the town. And he wanted a conservation restriction on that. And I was curious as to why that was being handled a little different than others. It's a
Now, when
big piece of property. He said if we were to acquire that property, the one I'm talking about, this place would be as big as Destruction Brook, which is great for the dog walkers, but I don't know about everybody else. But it's a big piece of property. So this is another piece we're talking about here.
yes, yes.
I just wonder, we don't have a map on that, do we, in
We do from the last meeting.
the package?
If you go to last meeting in the file,
Okay.
there's a map on it. Article 35 is to elect a municipal light board.
I think we should talk about this at a future at the next meeting. Yeah, let's hold on that one.
Okay?
36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and 41 are all zoning changes.
Can I speak about those
Yeah,
zoning
you go ahead. Go ahead.
Those involved with Dalton Entertainment, any of those zoning changes involved Dalton Entertainment?
I don't know.
Well,
They're currently before the planning board. Had they public hearing yet?
Yeah, how about,
I think we did. I think it's coming to us next.
how about Article XIP? That's something you could look up.
XIP.
You're talking about the bylaw article.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't have them listed here on our summary.
gotcha. Do you have, on the current zoning bylaw, do you have page 53 listed in your, inside of your?
I don't have any of the zoning bylaws here. Right now, we just have
Do you
kind
have
of,
them on yours?
No, we've all got the same stuff right now.
right now, we
My
just
computer
kind of have
just-
placeholders for the zoning changes. I don't have the actual descriptions into the bylaws yet because they can take up
Gotcha,
15, 20
gotcha.
pages.
But it's up for discussion, these bylaws.
This will just put it on the town meeting warrant, and town meeting will
Right,
have to
right. So
vote.
when it says on the agenda, it's up for discussion.
Or
And
just-
so if you don't know what they are and you list them as up for discussion, how do you talk about them?
But we're not
We're
finalizing.
not discussing the articles, we're discussing the warrant. And so we're talking about whether we're going to put the articles on the warrant.
Gotcha. Can we
We're not
talk a little bit about the article that's gonna go on the warrant?
No, I think right now we're just gonna, we're gonna do that at a later date. Right now, we're just deciding, so, we haven't even got the change from planning board yet.
Because I see a couple things on there that, it sticks out to me,
Just to be, so can,
Yeah.
if
Go
that
ahead,
makes, so just to give you the brief summary that we have, Article 36 is the short-term rental. bylaw change.
Yep.
37 is a minimum lot width.
Yep.
38 is the definition of congregate living.
That's not a, yeah, right.
39 is the unrestricted residential agricultural land use.
Yep.
40 is the Westport Gateway District, so that's to change.
That's the one I wanted to see.
And then the Article 41 is the Science and Technology Overlay District. But we're not talking about the merits of any of those yet because we don't have the article proposals from the planning board after their forum.
Gotcha, but that'll be coming up at another date.
Well, will that be coming, Jim, next, the
We gotta
11th?
wait for the planning board to hold their public hearing, and then they give us their recommendations. So Article 40 just goes to Route 88, from Fall River to Route 88. It doesn't go on the other side of 88.
Yeah, but in a case like that, if there's some existing zoning in place, is that gonna be taken out and replaced with this new zoning?
In between Fall River and 88.
Not your side, he's
Not-
saying.
not
I
your
think
side.
he has family on the other side, that's why.
Well, right now, currently, 1717A is zoned for adult entertainment. When this bylaw gets concluded, will that exclude it or keep it included?
I would check with the
So-
town planner just to confirm.
I don't know about that, but I do know that we had to put adult entertainment in a zone somewhere.
We can't not.
So we can't not have it. Yeah, no, I get it.
What happens with adult entertainment is how that turns out to be spot zoners, that turns out to be what you call accorded. So under section 9A of the law, that is requiring a bookstore, a video, a movie theater, and a marijuana establishment. So one person to be spot zoned, which would be accorded, what would happen is one lot would be designed to do it, and it wouldn't be another lot not to do it. So under section 9A, you would need 4 businesses, so that means under that zoning bylaw, rather gateway call it, or whatever's in place now, adult entertainment section, what you would need there is 8 capable lots.
So just a question, you said
Yeah.
17 and 17A?
Yeah.
So right now, if this description is correct, which I believe it is, we're looking the other side, 88 is not impacting this side.
Right, so that would take 17A out of the adult entertainment.
No, it doesn't change it.
It doesn't
It's
change
not
it, it keeps
changing.
it the same?
No, I'll confirm, but that's the way I'm reading it
But
right now.
can you look up page 53 of the current bylaw? It's a pretty simple question. And so I got, one question will take you guys 2 minutes, and then we can move on from there.
If you want to come in tomorrow, we can go over it if you want.
Can you got it right there.
I
Stevie,
don't.
can you pop it up on yours?
No, my computer died. Why don't you just tell us what you have?
Well, I got, as a matter of fact, I'll bring it over to Jimmy here. This one here is,
Sorry,
Tina Marie
That's all
Noble.
right.
And on page 53 here, that's 52. The next one here is 53. See 53?
Yeah.
Special permit issued for adult entertainment shall be for the term specified for the Board of Appeals not to exceed 2.
Right,
2 what?
2 years, the next page.
Where's the years? No, it's not on the next page. No, see,
Years.
gotcha. It's popped right there on the next page.
It's kind of hidden there, but it is there.
Because that really belongs,
Yep,
you know what I mean? This way it doesn't, it don't disappear in any way, shape, or
There you
form.
All right. Satisfied customer?
Yep, I am, but in reality, that according thing, and then of course, on the bylaw itself, there's an issue I'd like to, proposed bylaw, there's an issue I'd like to take up with that as well, too.
so that should go to the planning board first. They're holding the public hearings. That'll be the place to.
Yeah, but what happens on the planning board, eventually comes back to the selectman's office for approval. So if I should happen to miss the planning board, I get a second shot at the selectman's office for discussion, and I got the administrator here.
Well,
Selectmen-
that's not quite true. We are putting articles
So
to be
the
placed
selectmen
on the
approve the
warrant.
articles for the town meeting. Town
Yep, yep.
meeting votes on the actual changes.
So if I have any real questions, I can stop by and see you.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. Jim, want to continue?
Article 42 is just last year with the beach manager and the assistant head lifeguard. This just puts it into the town personnel bylaws.
Has the personnel board looked at this?
They have, yes. I believe we may have a couple of other small
Okay.
sections in there as well. Article 43 is the wine and malt beverage license special legislation request for Gulf Resources, 634 American Legion Highway.
Yeah, so these are the people that came in and discussed this with us, if I recall.
Yes.
Oh,
Article 44 is the parcel that Board Member Shauna Schufer was talking about. These are the two parcels from FL Tripp and Sons. One butts the transfer station to the north, and one is just it's a triangular piece on the north end of the police station. Article 46 and 47. 46 would be a special education article if the board wants to consider that. The town can create a special education stabilization fund. It's kind of in there right now as a placeholder. And then Article 47 would be just to allow you to transfer money into the stabilization fund. We would
So-
add one as well for the capital stabilization fund.
But what 46 is special education, and 47 is the stabilization.
Destabilization, and we'd probably want
separate.
to add one for the capital stabilization.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. And are we proposing the special education fund? Would that be a
It's up
select?
to the board, I just put it on there right now for discussion.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chair, just for the people at home, are these numbers gonna change because we
Yeah.
struck some?
Yes.
So just so that people understand and people in the audience understand, these numbers aren't gonna be the same on the actual warrant. Okay?
Yeah, that's good information, because I was thinking about the sewer one being.
You don't wanna tell everybody to vote no on 25 right now, so it's probably gonna be 22.
14 is gone fishing Saturday.
It'll change.
This is something that bedevils select board members as well.
But I think we should put the special education, the capital stabilization, and the regular stabilization. It
Yes.
should all be on there.
And we will discuss that in more detail next time, particularly the special education, which I think is a good idea. We should discuss it. Okay, so, are there any further comments? I mean, we were going to have more next time, but if there's anything further tonight, I'm willing to entertain.
Do we have any, what's the date for the petition articles? Do we know?
I don't know, we have one petition article right now, that's Rita Lane.
Okay.
Did we skip over that one?
No, well, you might have skipped it, but it's on there.
It's on, okay.
I know the input from the department heads, we closed that, but I was just wondering if we knew the petition article date. It might have already passed. Okay.
Can we get that, Jim? When
The
the
date?
deadline is for that?
I'll send that out tomorrow.
It'd have to be by our next meeting, right? It'd be it might be before
I
that.
thought it was the end of the month, that's why. we
Yeah, it
were
might be
pushing stuff.
before that.
All right. So, let me get my papers all over you. So that concludes our discussion. Again, any last comments on any of this? Again, we'll be discussing it next time on March 11th, and we will look forward to that. So the next item is a budget update, and I think there's a couple of items here, and one little correction, Jim, if you could just,
Yep, I got a sheet here that
yeah.
has the information from the February 12th meeting and tonight's meeting, February 26th. On the 12th, we presented the budget to the Board of Selectmen. None of those budget numbers have changed. All the appropriations or all the recommended appropriations are identical. The only thing that did change, and this was picked up by Karen on the Finance Committee, the debt service, if you look on the column on the right, was 360, and on the right, it's 191 for credit on the new revenue. This was because the last year's debt service, we had originally appropriated an additional $150 to go towards the campground, but that was revised prior to town meeting by the Finance Committee and was not picked up on my spreadsheet. It does not affect the budget numbers, but it does impact the percentage that's going to the school. So last meeting, we had 62% of the funding going to the school out of the net new revenue. This meeting, it's up to 67% with that change. And you'll see the town share went from 806 to 654, which brings it down to 33%. It does not impact any of the budget numbers or the numbers that were appropriated at the last meeting, but it does impact the revenue sharing. I just wanted to note that. If the board wanted to make any adjustments, I would have to do that.
Well, I'm just going to ask, just so I'm clear on this, and I know you've explained it before. I thought it was just a change in the percentages, picking up an error there, but the town's share of the new revenue goes from 806 to 654,
Yes, yes.
and there's nothing to be concerned about there. That's what the formula drives.
No, and there's some numbers that, like I just got the health insurance, I had budgeted like 9.5, almost 10% increase, and they voted the other day at 7.4% increase. I've left that in the health insurance account, just because you never know, but we could reduce that and then offset this difference a little bit, but we don't need it. The numbers are the same in the budgets that we looked at last meeting. So there's no need to do that at this point unless the board wanted to.
No, I'm not arguing for that. I was just trying to understand, did the town side lose $150,000 or whatever, or was it not really contemplated anyway?
It was, so according to the numbers, we were looking at 654. It's just when I
Okay,
did the original revenue split, it looked like 806, but what was budgeted in
yeah,
the appropriations was the 6.
that's the 654. Yeah, okay, so you don't have to go back and look at those
We don't have
items
to change things
and
there.
cut here and there. Good. That's just my question.
And my suggestion would be that as the couple of numbers come in that we're waiting on, the Diamond assessment, Bristol Aggie assessment, and the final state revenue numbers, as those come in, if there's an increase, those would be applied to the town side, as opposed to doing the 54-46 split on the new revenue.
Okay.
And I will say, if it goes down by chance, which is a possibility with the state, it doesn't seem likely, but it's possible, we would have to reduce the school share as well as ours going forward.
Mhm. Okay. Any comments, questions on any of this? I think it's cut and dried, kind of. Alrighty, now, are there other issues under this item that you wanted to bring up? Free cash allocation?
And the free cash allocation, I'll give you a spreadsheet on that.
That's the one that's attached?
Yep, yes.
So, if I may speak, we've got the $1 million for the CIPC, and then the other items, if you want to make any comments on that. Down here you have stabilization at $100,000 and capital stabilization,
Yeah, so
but not school
the
stabilization.
yellowish there, tinted up at the top is the CIPC, that's $1 million. And then the blue shaded area, we have the opioid settlement. These are funds that have come into the town that we have to put into a separate fund. So we're kind of moving them from
Mhm.
free cash to a separate fund, which we'll be able to use in the upcoming years for opioid type uses. You know, it could be policing, could be educational, it could be services such as counseling. But anyway, that's what the $124,000 is. The assessors was the $20,000 article that we saw earlier tonight.
Yeah.
The campground payoff, to pay off the campground, which does free up some operating money that's included in the budget, would be $361,543. And this shows, at least for now, $400,000 of free cash going towards the school
Mhm.
department's budget.
Okay, we know about that.
And then the bottom ones are just suggestions. Free cash carryover, which means we would just start next year's free cash with $195,000, putting a percentage into stabilization and then capital stabilization. If we were going to do the special education, we could use a portion of that money, or one suggestion might be there's a warrant article that we approved last year for CIPC
Mhm.
to install the master clocks in the elementary school, and that came in because they were able to do it wirelessly. It came in at $55,000 less than originally estimated. So, one option might be to repurpose that school warrant money from the master clock to the special education stabilization account. That'd be about $55,000 at least to get that account started.
Okay. Any questions on this?
No, I'd like to see a little more done on the town side. We need some of the services that are depleted. It'd be nice if we could do something. I mean, even if it's some training programs and whatnot, spend some money, could get their licenses and et cetera, et cetera. It's just so we're so short-staffed, I'd like to see a little help on our side. Whatever it takes to keep going, I guess.
Did you have something in mind? Is that like the CDL licenses, for example? in the training?
Yeah, just so we need training done, we need more people, we're short in so many departments that, I'd like to see us squeak out a little bit more. I've already talked about positions before and whatnot that I think we need, but we'll keep plugging in. If there's gonna be a carryover, hopefully we can think about it stronger for next year.
Okay.
Free cash carryover or whatever, put some thought into it.
All right, any other questions for Jim? Okay, I think I get it. Thanks for the color coordination here, it's very helpful.
Yeah.
All righty. Does that conclude this item for budget
That's
update?
that item, yes.
Okay. And we'll continue, remember, we do have an executive session tonight. The town administrator report, Jim?
Yes, this was not submitted online, this came in late, so I will read it out tonight. The Water Enterprise Fund update. The final 2 meters were installed recently, so I think all the meters now have all been upgraded on the town's water line, which allows us to read the meters remotely. It takes about, probably a half hour to actually read all the meters now, where it used to take a day or two. It also allows us to process the bills much easier, so that's been a big help. Still working with the city of Fall River on reconciling the previous year's billings. We're getting a little closer, but we're not there yet. I'm hoping within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we will have some type of agreement with the city of Fall River. Overall, the operation of the budget, the enterprise
Jim,
fund.
I have a question on that.
Question, go ahead.
So is that holding, that's gonna hold us up on negotiating new contracts still, right?
Yeah, so we're operating under the old water line agreement. The impression I got from Fall River, and you were at the meeting as well, was they wanted to get this billing reconciled first before they
I mean, I thought he gave us 10 days, but it's kind of,
I've been available, and Fall River's been pretty good as well, but it's,
no, I'm just concerned because the way I read the contract, I mean, come June, they could give us notice and say they don't want to supply us water anymore. If we're not in the contract, so that's all.
yes. So the Interbasin Transfer Act, we did get notification. This is, because we're moving water and sewer around, it's coming from Fall River, going to Westport, and it's going from different basins. So you need this permit from the state that allows you to transfer from one basin to the next, and then back to the other basin. So the engineer's been working on this for over a year now with the state, and we're finally getting close. They're looking to have a vote in April, on April 11th, and hopefully at that point everything will be approved as far as the Interbasin Transfer Act goes.
Now, this basin issue is not related to the pumping stations.
So this is related to both sewer and water.
Whole project.
Anytime you take water and move it from one area to the other, you need to get approval from the state. The issue is, and one of the things that slowed us up is there's been a number of extensions from previous years. This goes all the way back to 1986. Some extensions in Westport, extensions in Tiverton, and extensions in Freetown that were never permitted through this process. So they wanted us to incorporate all those transfers into this permit. So it's been a complicated process. Complicated, and that's an understatement.
And ultimately, they're going to determine that it's insignificant.
Exactly.
And give us.
Okay.
And I think they pretty know it's insignificant already, but you gotta go through this process
Yeah,
of
all right.
proving it and justifying it ahead of time.
All right. Any further questions, or are you continuing on? You done?
Almost. New regulations, just to make you aware, there are new regulations currently being considered by the DEP. These are wetland regulations, waterway regulations, that also affect the water quality certification, impacts like Chapter 91 licenses along the river for docks, and any uses that you use within the licensed area, licensed water area. So just something to keep in mind. I did asked the conservation agent if there's anything we should be concerned about. He felt that the changes were warranted, and these were things that had been in the works for a long time. We did have a meeting last week. Manny and Steve can talk about the infrastructure meeting that we had, but after that, there was a meeting with Senator Rodrick, Representative Schmidt, Coast Guard, the Army Corps, Chris Leonard, who kind of facilitated the meeting just to give an update on the dredging. So they're looking to dredge the harbor, and right now it's quite a challenge to navigate coming in from the ocean, coming into the river. The channel keeps moving, so this will be a big help once that area is dredged. They're looking to move forward on this as quick as they can. They do believe they have funding in place to get this done. They've permitted this project to, dump the sand or the dredging material just off the coast of Horse Neck Beach. The permitting process for that is much quicker and easier to do that than it would have been to permit actually permit the sand from being dumped on the beaches. We'd asked about East Beach, we had asked about Cherry and Webb, and we were pretty much told that if, at a minimum, it would hold up the project if it was permitted at all. So
what type of, how are they dredging, with vacuum?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be in his, there's some notes in there from Chris Leonard. He is more involved in the process. I believe they were vacuuming it up, but I don't know that for sure.
Can you give Chris my phone number and have him call me so I
Sure.
can ask him some questions?
We
That's all
we talked about the dredging at the Climate Resilience Committee also. They talked about primarily it's a cost thing they want to put it out in the ocean because it's cheaper. So they were talking about whether there are some other communities that have gotten grants to kind of supplement the Corps of Engineers money so that they can move it more advantageously.
Kind of what I was asking, because
Yeah.
depending on the vessel, we could possibly rent a barge, load it on the barge. and
Yeah,
could
we
take
talked
from
about
there.
it. We talked about it
A
briefly.
lot of it's
Jim,
contaminated though, you gotta be careful.
John Bullard and Jim White were there. They would know more about it
Well,
than I do.
most of that just blew in the last storm over there. It's gonna be pretty nice stuff.
Hopefully it'll come right back to East Beach for us.
What are these ghost moorings that he speaks of?
So ghost moorings are just moorings that have been kind of abandoned out there, and could have been there for years, or they could have been recently. So moorings that are in the channel, they shouldn't be in the channel in the first place, but over the years, even prior to him taking over, there could be a few out there. They usually find a few.
Are they concrete
I'm
blocks?
assuming they're the concrete
Yeah,
blocks.
yeah. Okay. All right, and that's in our package, obviously. Okay, any further items? I think that's the report. Any questions for Jim before we move on to another subject? Hearing none, I'll assume we're done with that. Thank you, Jim, and we will go on to the next item, which is the approval of minutes. But I don't see which ones are here. We don't have any this time, okay? I think you mentioned that to me, if I recall. Report on the bill warrant. Was that me or you, Ann?
I did it.
Oh, you did it, yeah.
There was one to Diamond that made it a little larger than usual. So it was closer to 2 than like 1.5. But it was done.
Okay, thank you. The next item is 7, Selectmen Liaison Committee Reports and Suggestions for Future Agenda Discussion Actions. I'll start on this side tonight, Manning.
Just getting back on this infrastructure and kind of touch base on the betterment stuff that we went over. One of the key things that we gotta get out is that there will be no betterment charge for water to the residents, because when the initial line came in, there was no betterment charge, so there's gonna be no betterment charge. And so some of these neighborhoods on the sewer end, and why it's kind of, what we need to do is and the reasoning behind creating a sewer and water district is to get them under DEP, not Board of Health. So the Board of Health is DEP's representative in town under Title V. Now we're gonna come under DEP regulations for a sewer district, which is a little different. And another thing that we learned about the betterments for these seniors in the sewer district is they will be deferred if you qualify. So it's kind of very, very important that we get that word out to everybody.
Okay. Anything else?
And we touch base on the other stuff, like the committee and stuff, that we probably should be looking toward infrastructure. We'll decide on all that stuff after town meeting and stuff, so you gotta make sure it goes forward. The meeting I had before that was cable, and like Jim touched base on, and we kind of touched base with the other thing. Spectrum is kind of blowing off all the towns on their contracts, because we've been ready to rock and roll. So Jim's been working on that. Has the whole board seen any of that yet? Or just, yeah, probably not, because I'm on that committee, but it's been a problem reaching them. So our committee's going after them, if you will. Our legal's writing letters, and probably the whole board will have to send a letter
Yeah, I think it's
sooner or
cool.
later. But a lot of these big companies right now have just been totally ignorant. I'm dealing with it at work with companies too, that they just ignore the billing, and it's just a mess. So hopefully Spectrum will work with us, and hopefully we keep getting the word out. They'll do some. Oh, Jim, you did send a little letter out to the head communications guy, government communications. We had excellent relationships with the previous people, but lately it's been horrible. Last couple of years, all they want to do is sell cable because, internet, because they don't have to take a cut.
Couldn't that be like a complaint to the FCC?
That's what I've already told them. I says, first of all, we're going to put in tickets, like every person does when we're doing the house, when you go to the house, so we have a trail that, hey, look, we need these servers straightened out. We're going that way, and then we're just going to work it out. Val, we haven't heard anything lately yet, right? Correct? That was just been a week, so.
I don't know.
But I mean, from putting in the tickets, nothing yet. Jim, have you heard anything?
This is on the broadcasting live
Yeah.
section of it? Yeah, well, I did hear today. I finally made contact with somebody at Spectrum out in New York, and she contacted the local project manager, and they called me back this afternoon. This is the first call I've gotten from them in weeks. They don't respond to emails, and they don't respond to phone calls. But anyway, the project manager did say that they made some updates, or they did the connection. John Resendiz this was at 4 o'clock. John Resendiz got back to me at 4:30 and back to them and said it's still not working right. So I'm hoping they will try again tomorrow. And
I don't know. I think this, it's been a long time. And if it is a FCC violation, you get fined. And I think maybe we need to go in that route now.
Well, you have to have the trail first, but yeah, we do have to
I
push
think
it.
it's probably a phone call. We've been looking for service like this. I mean,
Yeah, we've already discussed that. We're going forward to FCC and all the good stuff, whatever it takes, because this is ridiculous. People think we're hiding things because our meetings are online.
we got
with
people paying for cable just for that reason.
I agree. I totally agree. So, all right, and that was the gist of that. Bike met, but I was stuck in another meeting, so I got to get updated on their status. Serped Wednesday. All right.
Anything else, Mickey?
No railroad meetings.
Oh, okay, well, your thing was going off there before.
I know.
Pain coming through here. The only thing I would mention as in my role of liaison to the Council on Aging, the Council on Aging has 2 vacancies for Board of Directors. They are interviewing people and they're reaching out to people, so they may come to us in the near future with recommendations. They're not ready yet, but I just wanted to let you know about that. Other than that, that's all I have.
Could I just ask one question while on that? The Housing Authority on Route 6 with all these resignations coming, what's our role in that?
we don't really have a direct role. It's administered by the state. Our role would be if there's a vacant position, we wanted to appoint somebody
Right.
to fill that vacant position. That would be the role of the town.
So at this time, we don't have to do anything right now?
There's nothing we have to do at this point.
All right, because that's the people. Cool, thank you.
Okay, that was all for me, Shauna.
So the Climate Resilience Committee met. They're having each of the subcommittees come back with reports for a big master report. There was, I think we'll get the results of that report. The Internet Advisory Committee, we had a problem with the posting, so we're going to meet this Thursday instead of last Thursday. And
Okay.
that's all for me.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have a affordable housing Wednesday.
Okay. All right, that concludes that item. Comments and statements from the public?
Hey,
You are the public.
We
Well,
have
Val-
a public
Val, you're
here.
the
You
public.
got one here. Robbie stuck to it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would just point out, Mr. Ron Lavasser,
Oh, yeah.
was
Okay.
going to attend tonight, but he's asked if he could submit a letter instead, so
Yes.
it is in your packet. Just wanted to make that.
Okay, well, so noted. Okay, once again, 9 is the board committee commission's vacancy list, and we continue to plug that, and we've had some recent success. I think there's an item 10 tonight, topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Is this Shauna, or, is this you or Paula
I can stop
on this
now.
item? No, library, isn't it?
Yes, so we have a letter from George Ripley, who's our library director, who's been there for a couple of years. He's been great to work with. He is resigning from that position to take another position elsewhere. So the trustees, the board of trustees have asked if they could post that position. They'd like to get it posted as soon as possible. So I'd ask the board if we could take that up tonight so that they can post a position and work on getting that position filled.
Well, this clearly meets the 48 hours, so there's no concern there. And in this process, is it a joint appointment, or how does this work?
So the Board of Selectmen makes the appointment, you're the appointing authority, so,
Just us?
yes.
Okay. So this action is only to post?
Post the position, yes, and get applicants.
Okay.
So I move we post the position of library director.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions, further discussion?
Do we have to accept the resignation too?
Yeah, do we need to accept, no, that's probably not urgent, accepting the resignation.
I don't think we're officially required to accept the resignation.
Yeah.
We do.
Well, if we have to, we will. And he's a good guy, and we wish him the best.
Yeah. good things
It's
for
too
him.
bad, but, okay, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Paula, once again, that would be unanimous. Now, the next item would be the executive session. Pursuant to the provisions of MGL C-30A, Section 21A, the chair declares an open meeting will have a detrimental effect to A, and this is the only item on the executive session, to discuss the strategy with respect to the litigation Riley versus the town of Westport. This needs a motion and a roll call vote.
So mostly what?
Second, Shauna Shufel.
Motion made and seconded. Now the roll call vote. Manny?
Manny Swa's aye.
I see what.
Aye, Richard Brewer.
Aye, Shauna Shufel.
I am Bucks.
Okay, it's unanimous. We are now in executive session.